Welcome to the latest edition of This Racing Life. Now, the frenzied roar of the Cheltenham Festival may not yet be quite upon us, but the cacophonous birdsong of the migrating pink-footed goose and the winter thrush signals the start of the national hunt season. And with that in mind, we have come down to Lambourne, to the Valley of the Racehorse, indeed to the Valley of the Cheltenham Festival winner, to talk to a smattering of trainers about their forthcoming seasons. Here is what's coming up on this week's episode of This Racing Life.
We were meant to be on gas chamber training, so the rest of my platoon turned left into the gas chamber and I turned right and got into the commandant's car and got ushered off up to Sandown. And the horse I was riding, a horse called Folly Road, won the race, and then we were taken off to Windsor Royal Lodge for a drink with the Queen and the Queen Mother.
These fairy tales don't happen in consecutive races, and I was like, oh my God, Frodon and Bryony, they've stolen our thunder. It really felt like the will of the people willing him up the hill. You know, it was just the most special day.
He's won 3, fallen twice, and pulled up once.
So when he gets a clear round,
yes,
most of the time it's
he's
pretty
there or
successful.
thereabouts.
Yeah.
Look away, he just looks, so excited. I love the horse to bits there. He's full of class, and I just hope we can go forwards and reward his owner now.
First up, I've come down to the yard of Jamie Snowden, who last season enjoyed a campaign to transcend all prior seasons in the past, with the likes of You Wear It Well, who of course won at the Cheltenham Festival, and this lad, That's All Right Gino, who could well be set for another big campaign.
Last year was incredible, right from start to finish. Obviously Pisgah Pike winning the summer hurdle, ending up with That's Right Gino winning the Grade 2 up at the Scottish National Meeting, and all the way through Paddy Power Gold Cup winners and Grade 2 winners and festival winners. It was a phenomenal year, and it's all credit to the whole team that the form of the horses continued literally from flagful to all the way through to the flagful. So it was brilliant. It was wonderful, and it's long may the luck continue, and fingers crossed this year can be equally as successful.
I wanted to touch on your way into racing, because it's not the most orthodox of routes. Started in the army at Sandhurst and then took a slightly different direction. Just talk us through that.
Yeah, so obviously I rode a lot as a child and came up through the sort of point-to-point ranks and got a scholarship to go to university from the army. So off I went to Newcastle for 3 years, and then I joined the army, went to Sandhurst. I was officer training at Sandhurst, and there was one day in March when I was on guard duty, and there was a knock on the guard room door, and I was ushered up to the commandant's office, and the commandant was in the Royal Irish Regiment, and they had leased a horse to run in the Grand Military Gold Cup at Sandown the following day. Unfortunately, the girl that was meant to be riding the horse was stuck in a mortar attack in a base in Northern Ireland and couldn't get back to the UK, so I was a sort of last-minute sub. And the following morning, the rest of my platoon, we were meant to be on gas chamber training, so the rest of my platoon turned left into the gas chamber and I turned right and got into the commandant's car and got ushered off up to Sandown. And the horse I was riding, a horse called Folly Road, won the race, and then we were taken off to Windsor Royal Lodge for a drink with the Queen and the Queen Mother. And then back in the commandant's car back to Sandhurst, and the rest of my platoon was sort of coming out of the gas chamber coughing and spluttering and crying and weeping, and had a horrible day. And they'd said, Snowden, where the hell have you been? It's like, well, slightly surreal story that sort of came about, and really on the back of that the army were very good to me. Commissioned from Sandhurst, joined a cavalry regiment called the King's Royal Hussars, and from there managed to win the Grand Military a few more times, and went off to Paul Nichols as his pupil assistant and amateur jockey, and then off to Seven Barrows and assistant at Nicky's, and rode obviously a bit as an amateur for him. But really, without the army as a sort of springboard, it would have been very hard to get into both Bulls and Nicky's, and really that sort of gave me the as I say, the springboard to get into training racehorses.
And I assume you had plenty of riding experience by then.
Yeah, I'd ridden. I think I had my first ride in point to points when I was 16. So I'd ridden sort of for 4 or 5 years prior to that in point to points. But I think that was my first ride under rules, and obviously ended up riding for about sort of 10 years of my sort of life, and had great fun. Thoroughly enjoyed my riding, but training was always going to be the sort of end game.
And how was meeting the Queen Mother and the Queen at the time?
Yeah, as I say, it was just completely surreal. It was just very odd. Never anticipated anything like that would happen. But it does go to show what racing can do. It brings people together. From any one of us sort of mere mortals to the royal family, and it was great it's great to be a part of that day.
Just in terms of your actual training, it didn't take you too long to get a Cheltenham Festival winner on the board with Present View, who was one of your really big early successes.
Yeah, that was great. Obviously, Sir Chips Keswick's been a big supporter of our yard, and he had a lovely horse in Present View, and he was our I suppose, our first big winner from Folly House. We moved here in 2011. Knight and Coombe won the Summer National, and Exora was our first Cheltenham winner. But Present View was really the one that I suppose put us slightly on the map and got us going. And obviously that's right, Gino, Garlaw and You Wear It Well, which were our sort of three big sort of flag-bearing names last year. It's great having them in the team to progress this season up in sort of open company, and then some really exciting novices coming through as well, and younger horses, horses off the flat and store horses and pointers. So it's a good team, hopefully all the way through. And yeah, listen, we're hugely excited about the season ahead.
Yeah, let's touch on You Wear It Well in particular. Obviously winning the Jack de Bromhead Mares Novices Hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival last year. Great ride from Gavin Sheehan. Now, I wanted to ask you, because it's a race that's been won plenty of times in the recent past by Irish trainers, the Willie Mullins, the Gordon Elliots of this world. They had plenty of runners in the race last year. There was a hot favourite from Nicky Anderson just down the road, Lucia. But it was you who beat them all off. That must have been incredibly satisfying.
Yeah, it was incredibly satisfying. Obviously it was 9 years since our first festival winner, and I suppose when we had our first festival winner, you probably, having come from both Paul's and Nicky's, where festival winners are plenty, you sort of perhaps think that naively that it's going to happen more often than it perhaps does. So it was a long wait for the second one, but hugely satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely. And You Wear It Well. She can be a cheeky monkey at home, I've heard, but certainly on the racecourse she's got plenty of talent. And you said earlier, I thought it was interesting that when she's cantering, she's at her most straightforward.
She is. She's a little bit of a cow, actually. Yeah, she can have a bite and a kick out of you in the box, and she's not the easiest ride at home. But when she's galloping, when she's schooling, when she's cantering, she's very straightforward and very honest. She's a big, strong mare. She's really strengthened and developed. We obviously popped a fence with her in the spring to give us the options of going novice chasing this year. But I think we're going to stay over hurdles. Follow that route from Wetherby to Sandown, Warwick, and hopefully then on to Cheltenham. The sort of programme sort of sets itself out for her. Hopefully she can follow that route and be exciting this year.
And would you say physically she's strengthened up in the last 12 months?
Yeah, very much so. We've got a sister that turned up this year as well. She's by Jack Hobbs. You Wear It Well was quite a sort of slight filly when she arrived as a 4-year-old, similar to the Jack Hobbs that we have now as her younger sister. But with each summer she's definitely grown and matured and strengthened. She's a big mare now.
You've got some very nice ones coming to your stable this season, including Reach for the Moon, who of course won the Solario Stakes. Very nice 2-year-old. Things might not quite have gone to plan for him since on the flat, but he's still very highly rated. Must be hugely exciting and intriguing even to have a horse of that calibre on the flat coming to you over hurdles, and of course those very famous owners as well.
As you said, very, very talented flat horse, favourite for the Derby at one point, rated as high as 114. So for those that calibre of horse to come jumping, it's great. Obviously he's had his issues the last couple of runs and really over the last season, but without those kind of issues we wouldn't be in a position to be training him over hurdles. So he's a talented individual. He's been down to Henrietta Knights for a month's schooling tuition down there, jumps really nicely. He's back at Sandringham having a little bit of a break now. Certainly we look forward to welcome him at some point through the winter. Yeah,
definitely. I'm just wondering how you came about to be training horses for His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Queen.
So the then Duchess of Cornwall very kindly supported us a couple of years ago. We had a lovely horse called Pacify who won 4 on the bounce, was second in the Grade 2 at Cheltenham, won a nice listed race at Kempton, and really she's been a big supporter of our yard, and thankfully obviously now that she's stepped forward and is the Queen, and the late Queen's obviously bred quite a few horses that the Queen has inherited, and a couple of them have come here as well. So it's great to have that kind of support behind us.
Yeah, very high profile owners. Given the success of last season, have you seen more owners interested in coming to your yard?
We have, yeah, definitely. We've always been buying, but we've always bought horses on spec, as it were, and thankfully I've managed to sell those on to existing owners, new owners, and we've had more people come to us. As I say, You Wear It Well's sister, owned by Seymour Curdy, that's a new owner to the yard, and he's come to us on the back of You Wear It Well winning at Cheltenham, I'm sure of it. So yeah, no, it's great having the existing guys reloading and buying hopefully bigger and better winter horses, and and obviously having the new guys come in and support us too.
And in terms of this forthcoming campaign, have you made any internal targets, possibly that you haven't necessarily voiced to everyone else, that you'd like to achieve?
Yes.
Would you like to explain?
No.
I imagine generally, though, another season that's as successful as last with a couple of big profile winners. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Yeah. So obviously the season before we had 50 winners without really a high profile success, and last year we had sort of 44 winners, so slightly down on numbers of winners, but as we say, sort of 6 high profile winners. Yeah, listen, you want to carry on in those kind of figures and that kind of form, but as we all know in this game, you've got to be lucky, and fingers crossed they can stay fit and healthy.
We've scampered across Lambourne's idyllic country roads to catch up with trainer Emma Lavelle about her perennial staying powerhouse, Paisley Park, his plans for the forthcoming season, and how propitious she is about her exciting group of young hopefuls in a squad full of talent. I did want to ask you actually, first of all, about the yard, because it's not quite how it used to look, is it?
No, it's not. When we first came here, all of this was open plan, so there were just the stables around the outside, which have stood here now for 130 years, but it just seemed like it was a bit of a waste of space. So we built more boxes in the middle, but still creating plenty of airflow. No boxes on top of each other, and then another more traditional American barn sort of further back. So it sort of works. It's a beautiful yard. It has a lot of history, and I suppose what we feel we've done is just maybe modernised it a little bit.
Yeah, and there's a sort of serene tranquility in here. It's very relaxed.
It is most of the time. Occasionally, it can be a little bit less relaxed, but yeah, it is. And I think that's key. I think it's key. You want the horses to be as relaxed as they can be, and ultimately we want everyone to be relaxed around here. So. It's just a beautiful environment, and we're very, very spoilt to be training horses from here.
Relaxed, and I imagine excited as well, because the campaign is almost upon us, and this is when the juices should really be flowing.
Absolutely, and that's right. You know, we are really excited. It's on the back of a season that was kind of, for a lot of it, not exactly as we'd hoped, but fortunately we salvaged a fair bit towards the end of the season. But you know, it wasn't a straightforward year for us, and I think hopefully the outcome of that is that there should be quite a few well handicapped horses, but we've got a lot of youngsters that we actually finished up not running, so you know, lots and lots to look forward to, and some that actually ran really well considering I don't think they were at their absolute peak. So yeah, this is definitely the right time to come in and see them.
You talk about taking it to the next level. One horse who's been performing at the top level for so long is old valiant favourite Paisley Park. We saw him a little bit earlier on. He looks a picture.
He's in terrific form, and he won a long walk, his third long walk run at Kempton, a track that should never have suited him last year. He was then disappointing when he went to the Cleve, where he finished third. And then sometimes you have to pinch yourself and go, you know, oh, so disappointing to finish third in a Grade 2 at Cheltenham. You know, that's the level he's at, where you expect to be winning all these graded races with him. And we've been lucky enough that over the years he has been winning them all. And then at the festival, he clearly, like the rest of them, he just wasn't himself. But he wasn't beaten miles, and we just said, okay, let's just put him away now, turn him out, give him a proper summer out, and get started. And if he has decided that he doesn't want to keep going anymore on the track, well, that's grand. We'll run him at Newbury and see how he gets on. We'll take the same route that we've always taken. If he shows us that he's had enough, he absolutely deserves a long retirement. If he shows that he's still got the same fire in his belly, well, we'll keep going until he tells us he doesn't want to keep going. And the thing about Paisley is, you know how he's going to run if he's at his best. You know what he does through his races. So he's a pretty easy horse to gauge. But I felt that if we were going to retire him, it should be on our terms, knowing that he's in the peak of condition going there. If his wheels just don't go round as fast as they used to, well, that's fine. There are a million other jobs that he'll be able to go and do.
I want to hark back on that brilliant success in what was then the Sun Racing Stayers Hurdle. What a performance that was, and it's nice to have on that CV, because of course he's won 3 long walks, a multitude of other races over staying distances, but to have that big one at Cheltenham must be not just a relief, but also something to look back on and think, yeah, you could really do it.
It was just the most perfect season. You know, he just won at Aintree, he then won the fixed brush at Haydock, and then he went and won the long walk. That was our first Grade 1. We'd sort of been placed in plenty, but we'd never won one. We then won the Cleve, and then he turns up there, and it was just, I'll never forget the day. Frodon had won the race before, and that was a magical race. And you know, I felt very emotional when Frodon was coming in, and felt, you know, it was just, these fairy tales don't happen in consecutive races, and I was like, oh my God, Frodon and Bryony, they've stolen our thunder. And then actually to go out and do that, and to feel, it really felt like the will of the people willing him up the hill. You know, it was just the most special day.
Let's fast forward to the season forthcoming then, because we saw last year that very close finish at Newbury in the long distance hurdle, and I'm right in thinking that's probably going to be his first start this season.
Yeah, that's what we're aiming for. You know, he loves it around Newbury. It's a big galloping track. I think, you know, that would be very much the plan. But whereas, you know, at the start of most years with him, we just, you know exactly where you're going, race by race. That's his campaign. This time around, it really will be a race by race. So we'll see how he runs at Newbury. If he goes and runs his heart out and everything is great, then we'll look at going to the long walk. If he doesn't, it may be that we just say, do you know what, that's it. So, you know, there's no expectation. We just want to see how he is and how he performs. But knowing Paisley, he will definitely be trying his hardest.
I guess in training careers like yours, Paisley Park, he wouldn't necessarily be 1 in a million, but he's almost a career maker, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we waited a long time for him. We'd had a lot of nice horses, but it is unbelievable how difficult it is to go from that nice Grade 2 horse to winning those Grade 1s. You know, it is a big step, and so accordingly, we did wait a long time for it. So he is, you know, he absolutely has been a career maker for us, and I hope I don't have to wait another 20 years for the next one.
Next up on our Lambourne Odyssey, we've come down to see Oliver Signy, a budding young trainer with a burgeoning squad and big plans for the future.
So looking forward to getting our first runners out after all the hard preparation they've done over the summer and building up to now.
Here we are today,
Yeah.
Oliver Signy Racing, just up the road from Jamie Snowden,
Yeah.
and used to be Seamus Durac's yard. You've
Yeah.
taken over.
Yes, so we've been here for four seasons now. Came in, got the keys on the, what was it? It's about the 10th of September. Got married on the 14th, and
What a week.
We won a week, and the horses came in on the 16th.
That really is quite a 7 days.
Literally
Yeah.
3 or 4 days to do, and then we were straight into training really.
And at the start, you had only a handful of horses.
I had 6 horses, which was brilliant just to get us on the feet. We had one of Mick Fitzgerald Racing Club horses, French Paradox, and we had Zambezi as well.
Yeah, and now you've got 29, is that right?
Yeah, 29 in, and daughter Thea's little pony Shetland Treacle.
Talking of which, it is a lovely family vibe around here. It's all a kind of big part of the team, isn't it? You, your wife and your daughter.
Yes, all of us, and we've got a young team coming through, and everyone works and helps out and does everything really. It's a great family atmosphere, and we're a smallish yard with good horses. I think it shows in the results we've been having, and they're all nice and quiet and relaxed, and really pleased where they are at the moment.
Yeah, and you talk about the results you've been having. It's been a sort of gradual development, hasn't it, over the last 4 years to get to the point where you are now?
Yeah, so we started off with store horses and bumper horses, and then they came through the ranks of the novice hurdles, going to handicap hurdles, and then going novice chasing, and we're now seeing the results, and this is shown by French Paradox, who the owners have been very, very patient and been able to take the time, and it's reaping the rewards really. Won a novice hurdle at Newbury, beating Flash Clonge.
Good form.
Which was very good form. And then we went down the handicap route, and he ran some good races. We then went chasing with him. where he's won 3, fallen twice, and pulled up once.
So when he gets a clear round,
Yes,
most of the time it's
he's
pretty
there or
successful.
thereabouts.
Yeah. Hopefully he can stay on his feet this season. He looks like a big bull of a horse, developed and strengthened up over the last 12 months or so, would you say?
Yes, he's benefited from his summer break. He's matured mentally and physically, and we've had Gavin Sheehan. He's come in and worked him last weekend, and he's very, very happy with him. We're getting to the stage now, hopefully we'll be able to take the hood off him, but that's in discussion to see how we are. But yeah, he's over the moon with actually how he's running, and we're looking forward to the season ahead.
Yeah, and talking of races he might be partaking in this season, you've got some fairly high hopes.
We're early season aim is the Coral Cup, so originally the Hennessy, and so it's just working back from that as to where we run. He's majorly ground dependent, and so if we carry on having the wet autumn, we can maybe run at Chester, the Native River. If not, there's the Charlie Hall at Wetherby. So it gives us options, or we can possibly run over hurdles, but it's be a good prep run as to what we do before aiming there, hopefully on soft ground.
And do you feel the best is very much yet to come with him?
I think this season and next season, if all goes to plan, I think he's still improving. He's still an 8-year-old, so probably a 9-year-old he'll be at his best. So it's a lot to look forward to.
And I wanted to touch on another one of your horses that's pretty exciting, Wilsberg, a horse who's won once in a bumper at Warwick and did it pretty well.
Really slightly surprised with actually how he ran and how he won so comfortably. He'd been showing good work at home, and he had a couple of very good bits on the back of the hill. But then he went a little bit weak, and so I was actually wanting to give him an early summer holiday. But the soft ground came, and the week before he actually picked up and looked actually $1 million. And so we ran him there, and it was a newcomer's bumper, so everything in the race hadn't run before, so it was actually off a level playing field. And I was really pleased with how he did. He did everything we asked, and he quickened away, and he's come back in this season so much stronger and with a very good attitude, and he knows he ran well, and he thinks he looks as if he's a good horse.
I know that you're looking to expand the yard at some stage, and yeah, I suppose any more support that you can get would be fantastic.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. Just keep trying to buy some more horses and have some good quality horses. And if the horses run to form that we're hoping and looking forward to them doing, hopefully that will then attract some new syndicates and new owners into the yard this season.
Our next port of call brings us to trainer Neil King, whose portfolio of back catalogue successes includes the likes of Little Rockefeller, Cubs Win and Milan's Bar. This campaign, he's hoping for some more success, this time though in the form of some other exciting prospects, most notably One More for the Road and of course the very promising Look Away.
Look Away came from the Irish point-to-point field, a winner. Won very nicely as we thought he would do at Newbury first time out, and then obviously followed up in the Aintree bumper. This time last year we thought the world was our oyster, and away we go to the Supreme, but sadly things never worked out. We just had a bit of a cloud over the yard last winter, and he was one of those badly affected by it. But fortunately he came right at the end of the season, the spring, and we were able to give him 2 nice confidence boosters before he had a break at grass, winning at Utoxeter. And he's back in with a very, very lenient handicap mark now, and obviously still a novice for the season, which would help open up a lot of options for him. Slightly unusual story behind acquiring the horse in the first place. He got a fantastic owner, Peter Beadles, been with me for a number of years, and asked me to find a nice horse, a proper Saturday horse. Gave me a very decent chunk of money, far more than we normally have to spend on a horse. Matt Coleman always helps me with the buying of the horses, and Matt and I went to all the Cheltenham sales, etc., probably for 6 months running with the cash sitting in a pocket, burning a hole and dying to bring home a nice horse. And
must have been so hard to bide the time on that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Of course you want to dive in and grab the first one, but yeah, it's really important. I had a very decent budget. We're a small yard. We need a good horse. The owner had asked for a proper Saturday horse, and it's important that we try to follow those guidelines and get the right one. And whilst it's easy to go to sales and pick up the best horses, you then need 300 or 400 grand to buy them, which is not what we had. And went off to the Orton sale before Christmas last year, and Lookaway was there, having just won his point by ask, so that's something that would put some people off, not the most fashionable sire. And he's a big chestnut horse, as you know, with a white eye and what have you, and he kept looking at me at the sales with his white eye, but I just loved him. There's something about him I just loved, and I thought I'd better just get his owner on the telephone here in case we need a bit more, and fortunately Mr. Beadle's let me go enough to grab hold of him and get him.
And you must be delighted with what you've seen so far. Obviously a short career to date, but that bumper win at Aintree and a couple of novice hurdle wins, it all spells a lot and promises much for the future.
Yeah, he shows everything that a good horse should do at home here. He has speed, he's got class, he's as sharp as a whistle. You mustn't fall asleep on him, but he jumps for fun. You know, I'd hope this season the world's his oyster.
And you ride him out yourself?
I ride him every morning, yes, yeah.
So you got to know him pretty well, I imagine.
yeah, he needs knowing, yeah.
Has he got a little bit of quirk in him?
He's the sharpest horse I've ever sat on. He's a fantastic ride, but when something sets him off, you need to be sitting pretty tight.
Yeah, I can imagine. And in terms of targets at the moment for him, I imagine it's steady, slow, and quite ground dependent as well.
Yeah, exactly. This time of year I wouldn't want to jump in and name races and plans, because it can soon dry up again, or we might get the rain and we can get going. He'd only be 3 weeks a month off a run if the ground is safe to run him. But yeah, with a handicap mark he's got, he's a novice, there's plenty of options for him. If he hadn't ran, you know, for whatever reason by middle of November, there is a nice little 2-mile novice handicap at Cheltenham, 0-125, and his name written all over it.
Yeah, he'd be a very exciting horse in the yard. You've got plenty of others though. One more for the road being one of them, and is going chasing this season.
That's right, one more for the road is not quite back with us just yet. He's doing his prep work at home with Donna Wallace, his owner. But here we go, novice chasing this year. Great little horse 2 years ago. I think he picked up over 90 grand in prize money, won 5 hurdles. He's a bumper winner as well, and ran some really nice races. Very good second off 138 at Ascot behind Tritonic, trained next door by Alan. Who's a useful horse in his day, and Jack scored him over fences in the spring last year. He's a natural, so he can start off on a level playing field this year, which will be a big help to him.
I've got to touch on Sporting Ace, who, as you say, the yard under a bit of a cloud last season, but he still managed to finish second a fair few times.
Yeah, no, exactly. He won, and then he was second, I think, 6 times last year over hurdles. Had you asked me this time last year, I would have said he'd make up into 140 rated a horse. He's there knocking around 120 at the minute. He will go chasing straight away now. He's a point winner again, jumps for fun, a lovely horse, and I would hope that £20 difference to my expectation and where we are with him at the moment is based on the bug that we had in the yard, last season.
Yeah, and you say he could be one to improve for fences.
Yes, I'm sure he will be. So 2 miles 5, 3 miles, all ground pretty much comes the same to him. Lovely horse by Shantou, very straightforward.
Tough as well.
Yes, yeah, no, he's great, but it's just a shame he's got so many 2s beside his names, but then they could have been 3s, so.
Yeah, exactly, every cloud. Yeah. And the other one I want to ask you about in particular was Gone Away Madam, who is a horse you don't know a huge amount about yet, but what she has shown is pretty promising. Yeah, lovely mare, gorgeous mare by Blue Brazil. Won first time out at Utoxeter as we thought she would. She'd done some super bits of work on the gallops here in her preparation, and a lovely mare. She jumps for fun. I'm going to look to aim her at the Mayor's Listed bumper at Cheltenham, middle of November, and then she is for sale, so she'll have an entry in the Tat sale after racing that weekend. But a gorgeous mare. Naturally, would love to keep her in the yard here, but I own a large part of her, and therefore she's for sale. Yeah, it'd be nice to get that victory in the bumper, wouldn't it? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And of the others, I sense rather a nice vibe around the yard at the moment, and quite an excited one too about some of the youngsters as well. Have you got any you'd like to nominate for us? What we've got a lot more of this year is young and unraced horses. So some of those we might need this season in education before they run next year. Others are ones we've made at home last year to come to the racecourse this season. But no, looking forward to it. And I say, look away. He just looks, so excited. I love the horse to bits there. He's full of class, and I just hope we can go forwards and reward his owner now. Well, I think it's fair to say the jumps juices are well and truly flowing after a fine couple of days here in Lambourne. Thanks to Jamie Snowden, Emma Lavelle, Oliver Signy and Neil King. Big plans and high hopes for all 4 trainers. Until next time here on This Racing Life, it's goodbye.